Hi. Recently, OpenAI team they announced the availability of ChatGPT for research purpose, and it's available for free for people. There is a lot of hype which is created by this ChatGPT. What is ChatGPT and why are people talking about this? My name is Nilesh, and in this video, I am going to show you how to use the different features of ChatGPT, and I'm trying to demystify if the hype is real and if the threat that people feel to some of the jobs like developers, is it really going to be affected by ChatGPT? So let's get started. In order to get started with ChatGPT, we can go to the OpenAI website and go through the different features of OpenAI. OpenAI, they are trying to use AI or artificial intelligence to make things better for different industries and different people. They have things like the Codex, which is used by GitHub Copilot. They also have this Delhi API, which is used to generate images based on the text. It has been in development and many people are using it. There are many APIs available which can be used to interact with the different features of OpenAI. But in this video, we are going to focus on what is called as the ChatGPT. This was released for public as a preview on November 30, which is about 4 weeks ago. And since then, there is a lot of interest which people have generated, or there is a lot of interest in the people, and they're trying different things with ChatGPT. So what is ChatGPT? It's an AI trained model which uses the conversational way to interact, and it uses what is called as a reinforcement learning. One of the things this allows us to do is we raise questions or we ask questions in different prompts to this ChatGPT, and it responds in a human readable format or something which is understandable to human, almost like a human or an individual is responding to our queries. It also keeps a track of what we have asked in the past, and we can go back and forth and revise our questions. We can rephrase our questions and get different kinds of responses. So to get started, visit this OpenAI chat or openai.com, and then there is the get started. I'll put the link to this particular page in the description. When we hit try ChatGPT, it will ask us to register. I've already registered using my email ID, so it is going to check I have the required privileges or I have the account with ChatGPT. If you don't have, it's pretty straightforward. You just give your email ID and you get a verification email, and once you are verified, you can start using ChatGPT. So here are some of the examples when we log into their very simple minimalistic page, which explains us like what kind of things we can ask. We can explain, or we can ask things like explain quantum computing in simple terms, got any creative idea for 10 years old birthday. So whatever we can think of, like when we are interacting among humans, we can ask those kind of queries here. We can also ask questions related to programming. So here is an example where they say, how do I make a HTTP request in JavaScript? It also has these capabilities where it can remember what the user said in earlier conversations and allow users to provide follow-up corrections. And it can also take feedback. So we can give a thumbs up or thumbs down based on the response that we get in order to improve the future suggestions or recommendations for ChatGPT. There are certain limitations, and we will come to that later. Some of that includes things like we might get occasionally incorrect information. And one thing to note is it has limited knowledge on the world events after 2021. So this AI model was trained before 2021, and some of the events that it has been trained, it's only until 2021. Anything that happened after 2021, we might not get relevant answers. So let's get started. I've asked few questions in the past, and I'm going to reuse some of them to see how does ChatGPT respond to. So the first thing I want to try is why should we care about ChatGPT? A simple question, like when we get started, when many people are talking about it, let's ask ChatGPT itself, why should we care about ChatGPT? And it says, I'm not sure what you are asking about ChatGPT. Could you please provide more context or clarify your question? So, okay, it is ChatGPT. Let's rephrase the question. Why should we know about ChatGPT? And you can see here that it's starting to give me answer to my question. It says that ChatGPT is a variant of GPT-3 language model that was specifically designed to be used for chatbot applications. It was trained on large dataset of chat logs and is able to generate human-like responses to a wide variety of prompts or to a wide range of prompts. Then it gives me 3 reasons why it might be interesting. Like ChatGPT is very powerful language model that is able to generate high quality resources to wide range of prompts. It's also telling me that it is trained on a large data set of chat logs, and it's a variant of GPT-3. And then at the end, it gives me summary. So I've tried different questions when I was playing around with ChatGPT. And this is mostly the pattern it follows. Whatever question you ask, in summary, it will give a quick introduction or a brief summary. Whatever question we ask, it will give us a brief introduction to the material or the question that we are asking. Then it will try to give some reasons, like 3 or 4 points, if we don't ask specifically for the exact number of justifications or points. And then it will also summarize in the end. So once we have this kind of generic information, I want to make use of this to work around and see how we can use it for other use cases. So let's say I want to write a tweet about something that I created a video on, and I don't have very intuitive words. So I'm going to use earlier tweet or earlier example. I have a video here which is related to 15-factor applications for building cloud native application. And I'm going to ask ChatGPT to write a tweet about 15-factor apps. And I'm giving a link to the YouTube video. So here we can see that it's come up with tweet content saying, just watched a great video on 15-factor app methodology for building scalable cloud native apps. If you are a developer or just interested in how modern apps are built, I highly recommend checking this out. And it gives the link to the video as well as the hashtags like 15-factor app, cloud native, and app development. I'm quite impressed with this because I didn't tell that Twitter has a limit of number of words or number of characters, and based on its understanding of some of the social media terms and technologies, it came up with this relevant tweet. That was good starting, I would say. Now let's go and expand this to another social media network where I want to, let's say, use this for creating a LinkedIn post. So using the same link, the same video, I'm going to ask ChatGPT to write a LinkedIn post explaining why it is important to build cloud native applications using 15-factor apps. And I'm saying use that YouTube video as a reference. And like the tweet, here there is a content for a post, a social media post created, which talks about cloud native applications are becoming increasingly important in today's digital landscape. There are types of applications design. Then it goes into the factors, the 15-factor methodology, and it lists down the factors which are related to the 15 factors. I didn't give any of these, so it is able to go look around the information available on internet, and it's finding these relevant information for me. So I find it very interesting that when we are researching for some topic or when we don't know exactly what to write, sometimes we find hard to express ourselves and we are looking for some subject or topic to learn more about. ChatGPT can be quite helpful in that. And here again, we can see that it summarizes the things for us, which is a consistent pattern across what I've seen in cases related to ChatGPT. Now, if you look at this, it gave a very generic information or generic things around 15 factor app. It doesn't talk about that video link which I gave and things like that. So let's say I'm not quite happy with this, what has been generated. I can ask ChatGPT to regenerate the text for me. So using the same question, it will try to rephrase whatever is the answer. And here we can see that it's coming up with a different set of reasons for developing the cloud native applications. And this time, those reasons are completely different to what earlier it was showing. And I'm seeing that things around scalability, elasticity, resilience, security, continuous delivery, all these things coming here. I'm impressed with this again because I never asked it to include these things, but these are some things which are very, very relevant to cloud native applications, and it is recommending me this. Now, I want to make one more thing, a slight addition here. So let's say the initial question that I asked or initial request that I prompted ChatGPT didn't have enough information. Here it just says use this YouTube video as a reference, but I want to say by the name of the person, which is myself, who created this as a reference, and then generate the content for the LinkedIn post. Now again, we can see that it is generating a different set of content, and this time it's putting my name here, and it's also listing down all the 15 factors. Mind you, these 15 factors that it is listing, these are not all correct. So as it was mentioned in the initial page where we started asking or interacting with ChatGPT, there are some limitations. So the 15 factors which are listed here, these are not the 15 factors which are called as 15 factor apps. But even otherwise, I would say that whatever it has listed out of, let's say 15, at least 7 or 8 are quite accurate. So to get started, this is good. So we have covered a couple of things here where we are asking general questions like why we should worry about ChatGPT or why we should care about ChatGPT. Then we are asking it to create a tweet or social media content. We are also asking ChatGPT to create content for LinkedIn type of social media posts. Let's focus our discussion on writing code. And when it comes to code, I'm going to use different types of things, or I'm going to test it with different types of things. So let's go create a new chat here, and I want to ask ChatGPT to write a Springboot API to manage orders for me. So let's say we have an application which is used for building e-commerce application, and when I request ChatGPT to build a Springboot API to manage orders, it's giving me a step-by-step process. What is required to set up a Springboot project, what is required to define an order entity. It is also telling me that I need a repository to manage the orders. It's also telling me that this extends JPA repository. What I find very much relevant and very much interesting here is it is listing all the steps for me. It's also giving me a lengthy explanation, and then it's also generating the code for me. Now, this code is again not a complete solution, as we will find when it completes. But if we use something like GitHub Copilot to generate the code, it is just using the natural language and it's giving us the recommendation for the code. By default, it doesn't explain us what the code is doing or what are the different attributes or what are the different methods we are using. That's the difference here. So if we go and see, it will also tell us what we are creating, what attributes we are using. Like say for example, a REST controller for the API. It's saying that create a new controller class, attribute it with @REST controller, define the methods for creating HTTP handles for reading, writing, updating and deleting the orders. So for someone who is, let's say, new or trying to understand these things, it is very, very helpful in my opinion. That was about Java. Now let's try to use something else. That was, I would say, very generic kind of thing, like creating a REST API, you might find a lot of examples of creating a REST API or Springboot API for managing the order. Let me go and create a new chat, and this is something I have done in the past, or I've tried doing in the past, where I use the YouTube data API to interact with the YouTube services, and I want to generate, or I want to write code to list the YouTube video subtitles. So my videos on YouTube, they have different subtitles. One video can have let's say I support more than 20 different languages, and subtitles are written in different languages. Given a video ID, I want to find out how many subtitles are there for that particular video. And I'm asking ChatGPT to write Java code for listing down all the subtitle languages. So here again, you can see that it's telling me that I need to set up a Google Cloud Console. I need to enable authorization for the YouTube Data API v3, obtain the API key. I need to request using the captions endpoint for that data API, and then I will get the response in the items, and that will contain the language as one of the attribute. That is how I can find out the different subtitle languages. Very, very impressive, I would say. Again, because I'm not using some commonly available code or something which is very generic or very obvious. I'm asking it specifically to go and query or use API which is available for YouTube Data API v3. Now, let's say I'm okay with this. I want to use other programming language. That was Java. Java is quite popular, right? Now I want to use C# because I'm familiar with C#, and I want to use a slightly different question here. Write C# code using YouTube Data API to check if the subtitle exists for a particular language. So let's say I have subtitle in German, and I want to check if a particular YouTube video already has subtitle in German language. So here I'm asking ChatGPT to write C# code for me. Again, you will see that it is listing down all the steps for me, what I need to do, starting with creating the Google Cloud Console API key, then having a NuGet package to the YouTube API, and then it gives me the code. So I can copy this code and then take it to my favorite IDE or integrated development environment like Visual Studio or Visual Studio Code, IntelliJ, whichever is the language and its related IDE I'm using or code editor I'm using, and I can paste this code and I can work with this. This code which is generated, in fact tried using it in my actual code which I'm using for uploading my subtitles to the YouTube video. It was not 100% accurate, I'll be frank in that. I got accuracy level of about 75 to 80%. I had to make minor changes to this, but the fact remains that if I were to look for this information without having ChatGPT, what would have been my workflow? I would have gone, used my favorite search engine like Google, put in some keywords like YouTube Data API, subtitles, search, check, those kind of things, and then I would have navigated through multiple links. Instead of doing that, here just by giving a question in normal human readable form, I am able to get a step-by-step explanation as well as a sort of working code for my beginning or to get started with. I'm liking this so far what I've seen, and I would recommend this if you are new to a programming language or if you are new to a construct. You can try ChatGPT for that and try to understand those concepts. For that reason, I try to find something or ask ChatGPT to do something which I already know, but again, I've not done it for a long period of time. So I'm asking write C# code to compare two lists and find missing items from the first list. So here we can see that it's telling me what I need to do. In order to use the comparison, I need to use link language integrated query feature of C#, and there is a method called as accept. So it says given two sequences, use the accept method. So we can see that it has given me a working code here where it takes one list, list 1, list 2, and then to find the missing items, it uses the list1.accept method with list2 as the parameter. And then it also writes what is missing from list 1. So again, something which is very, very important and understandable here is I can ask questions in a way I feel like using or asking, and ChatGPT gives me answers to my queries in a very structured manner, I would say. Now, I know that this code is working. Let's say I also want to try a different approach. There is a way in programming where we can write constructs using functional programming. So I'm asking ChatGPT here, write the above code using functional programming concept. So we can see it's using the same earlier code example. Now I didn't tell to use what code and all, but I just said above code. It has that reference, and it's able to backtrack, or it's able to refer to the history, and it's able to come up with a solution. So here we can see that now it is using the functional programming style, and it's using the concept from functional programming to write the same code. So far so good. Now I want to ask this to convert this code into a different programming language. So let's say the same code that we have, which is written in functional programming, I want to ask ChatGPT to write it in Go language. So I can put this, I can copy this code here. Let's use copy code feature and then paste it and just close this 3 quotes. I didn't tell that this is written in C#, but all I requested ChatGPT to do is to convert this whatever code I'm giving into the Go language. So it's telling me that Go, we can use the slice data type to represent the items instead of list, and we can create a slice by using the make function to compare the two lists and find the missing items. It's going to iterate using the contains method, and then it's going to use a join method on the string. So here again we see it has converted the syntax of the earlier code into Go language syntax. It's created two lists here, and then it's creating the missing list. It's iterating over it, and it's calling the function. Again, we can say that Go is sort of popular language. Why not try some other language? Let's say Rust, for example. The same code I'm going to use and convert it into Rust. So let's go up, copy this code, and ask ChatGPT to convert it into Rust programming language. And here it's telling me that I can use the vector data type to represent a list of items, and then to compare it, it's going to use the iteration method or ITR method, and it's generating the code in Rust. So I'm very much fond of these kind of things where when we are learning new programming languages, we know the constructs in one programming language, but sometimes it might be difficult for us to straight away translate them into different programming language. We can use things like ChatGPT, and if it is even, let's say, 80-85% accurate, it can be a huge time saver. It can be a huge productivity gain from a developer's point of view. So I find this useful feature, and I highly recommend that if you are a developer, if you're learning something new, or if you're trying some new constructs, do give ChatGPT a try and let me know what is your feedback. That was all about programming or from a developer point of view. There is another use case which me and my wife interestingly tried for this ChatGPT. My wife has a YouTube channel where she publishes interesting recipes from our Goan culture. So since she is not a native English speaker, sometimes she has difficulty in putting the description for her videos in the most appropriate way, and she has to look for information around. Recently, she published a traditional recipe, and we wanted to find a description for that. So we asked ChatGPT to write a description, and here we gave the question or prompt as write YouTube description for traditional Goan recipe. The name of that recipe is Katkate. And what it came up with is again something that we found very useful. I will read it for your convenience, but you will definitely agree with me that this is something which anybody can try. Welcome to our channel. Today we are sharing a delicious traditional Goan recipe called Katkate. This flavorful and hearty dish is made with a mix of vegetables and spices cooked together in a rich coconut-based sauce. It's a perfect combination of sweet, spicy, and tangy flavors, and it's sure to be a hit with the whole family. Nowhere in my description or in my prompt, I told it that it is based on vegetables or it is using vegetables, and it's also based on coconut sauce. So somewhere this information is available, and it's able to make use of this kind of information to come up with a very descriptive human-like response, and I find it very useful. Now the last thing I want to try before closing out is something related to the historic events or something that happened in the past. I'm a big fan of game of cricket, and I started watching cricket in 1992 during the 1992 Cricket World Cup. There was a very interesting game which happened in that tournament between India and Australia. There was the rain shortened game, and the target for India was revised. The game went on till the last ball, and India lost the match by 1 run. So it is one of those iconic matches, I would say, from my memory. So I'm trying to find out what ChatGPT can tell me about that match in 1992. This is the response that I got when I asked what happened in 1992 Cricket World Cup match between India and Australia. The response that it gave me is the 1992 Cricket World Cup was a cricket tournament that took place in Australia and New Zealand from February to March 1992. In the match between India and Australia, which took place on 8th March 1992 at Sydney Cricket Ground, Australia won the toss and elected to bat first. Australia's opening Jeff Marsh and Mark Taylor put on a solid partnership, with Marsh scoring a century and Taylor scoring a half century. However, India's bowlers, led by Jogal Srinath, fought back and managed to restrict Australia to a total of 253. In response, India got off to a good start, with its opening batsmen Chris Srikanth and Ravi Shastri putting solid partnership. However, Indian batsmen struggled to maintain the momentum, and the team was eventually all out for 216, falling 37 runs short of the target. As a result, Australia won the match by 37 runs and advanced to the semi-finals of tournament, while India was eliminated from the competition. Now, I don't know how to respond. It is a bit funny. I would say about 25 to 30% of the information in here is correct. Things about the number of runs scored or what was the final target is not correct. Some of the names are not correct here. I don't think Jeff Marsh and Mark Taylor, they played as openers in that match. Jogal Srinath, he did play. Indian openers, they didn't get off to a solid start, and India did not lose the match by 37 runs. Also, Australia did not figure in the semi-finals of the tournament. Neither did India. So in this case, I would say this is not very accurate. And this goes back to the initial limitation which was highlighted in the ChatGPT, that not all that we see is accurate here or 100% correct. One of the reasons for this could be cricket is not a well-known sport, or cricket is not known across the globe. There is not so much information available about cricket, and things around specific matches would be even more limited. That is the reason the amount of information that was presented to me might be not very accurate. But so far, what I've seen, I'm quite impressed when it comes to things like finding basic information about topics, things around programming languages like using Java, C#, Node examples, or JavaScript, Go. Many of these common programming languages we can use, or we can request ChatGPT to generate code for us or build code for us. As we saw, it can also be used for translating the code from one language to another. So far, I found it useful in certain areas. Also in areas where the one use case where I could think myself using it quite frequently is when writing blogs. I used to write blogs quite frequently earlier, but because of various reasons, I reduced writing blogs and I switched to YouTube videos. But if I were to start writing blog again, I'm pretty sure I'm going to use this feature of ChatGPT where I can reduce the amount of typing. One of the reasons why I stopped writing blogs was it took a lot of time thinking about topics, writing those things down. If I can use my ideas and if I can generate the content, I'm pretty sure I'm going to go back and revert those ideas and think about blogging again. So I hope you found ChatGPT useful so far, what we have seen in this video. Based on what we have seen so far, the question still remains why people are so curious, and we saw some of the reasons why people might be curious about ChatGPT. It is quite useful in certain areas. I can see it being used in many different industries and many different sectors. It could be really a productivity gain tool. Whether it will replace developers or not, in my opinion, right now, no. The reason for that is every industry and every company or organization has a lot of things which are very specific. We might find code or we might be able to generate code which is generic in nature, but to build complete applications and to build complete enterprise suites using ChatGPT, I don't see that happening right now. Maybe 15 years, 20 years down the line, that could be a possibility. But at this point in time, developers, they are still very much in demand and they would remain in demand. So my assessment is the role of developer is still going to be relevant. ChatGPT and other AI tools, they are not going to replace developers, but they would be helpful for developers to be more productive and to become more efficient. I hope you will give it a try. If you find it useful, do give it a try and let me know in the comments what is your feedback about ChatGPT. If you like other things around artificial intelligence or AI, on this channel I have done a couple of videos, one related to the GitHub Copilot, which is again a sort of extension of OpenAI and its Codex AI model, and also on another extension called as the Tab 9, which both help us to generate the code for developers for different IDEs. So good luck and thanks for watching this video.